Zalmi played 1 run in this match. It's a big 6. Karachi have won.
It's a young franchise, but they've done it.
Take it down from here. What a stab.
The first week at the HBL PSL 8 had it all. Carnival atmosphere in the stands. Last over thrillers.
Another one gone. Oh, what an opening game to the HBL PSL.
Batting masterclass.
Ah, take it down, big guy. What a way to bring up 100 in style.
Red hot bowling.
That's the way. Look at that stump smashed.
Jaw-dropping catches.
It's taken. It's been claimed. I just thought I might have seen a spill.
Youngsters have come to the party.
Oh, what a shot. What a shot.
And the big guns have justified their star-studded billing.
Got him, swing and a miss, gets the Yorker right.
The action continues tonight with Sarfraz and his men colliding with Bubba's army. It's time for another star-studded face-off featuring the old masters and the rising stars.
Well, it surely has been an entertaining week in the HBL PSL. The home side finally got a win yesterday, but we are back now for yet another encounter. The HBL PSL goes on as Quetta Gladiators take on Peshawar Zalmi, and this is match number 9 of the HBL PSL. Welcome to Pitside once again, and we have Quetta Gladiators. They are playing Peshawar Zalmi. This is the most played fixture in the history of HBL PSL. These two sides have met quite often in the HBL PSL, and we've seen some interesting games between these two sides. I remember we've had some really close encounters, so I'm really excited for this one, as I was for the one yesterday. And I've now been joined by the lovely Arooj Mumtaz and the knight in the shining armor, Nick Knight. I hope you liked my introduction.
You've been practicing that for a while.
Well, I had to get off the knight and the knight, so I thought it might be something different that we can start off here with.
I'm just pleased you two are not arguing today. I mean, you spent all day yesterday fighting about who was going to win, who was going to lose. You're good mates again.
We're good mates again.
We're neutral. But Arooj, Quetta are taking on Peshawar Zalmi. Quetta Gladiators, we saw what they did in the other game, and then Peshawar Zalmi obviously falling short. How do you look at this encounter?
I think both teams are well balanced, and they both look good. And like you said, because it's probably the most contested game, I mean, we tend to fall with Karachi, Lahore, but let's not forget this one's a big one. And these are two teams off late that have fought for places into that Final Four as well. Both have won their games here, which is going to be good. So they're both winning in the stadium at Karachi. Quetta Gladiators, again, you look at them, they've got Jason Roy, Martin Guptill. I mean, he was head and shoulders above everyone else. They also have Will Smeed in the lineup, but they've got a few Pakistani boys like Bangalzai, Amal Khan. He can bowl quick, Amal. And they've got that middle order with Iftikhar, Sarfaraz, Nawaz, Odin Smith. Again, it'll be a matter of what combination they play, but the best thing I like about Quetta is their speedsters. Naseem Shah and Mohammad Hasnain, can watch them all day.
Peshawar Zalmi lacking, would you say, in that department? I mean, their bowlers were not up to the mark in the previous game. They conceded over 200 runs that we saw. But you look at that squad, they have some bright prospects. There have been 2 new additions. Mujibur Rahman is available for them, and Dasun Shanaka from Sri Lanka comes into the squad as well.
Yeah, and for me comes into the team actually. I'm going to go and pick him straight away. Why? Because I just feel, I mean, you guys have been mentioning about perhaps the fast bowling. He's not a quick bowler, but I'm just going to add a little bit of bowling strength to the side. I think that's an area of slight concern for them. I love the way they line up at the top. Obviously, Babar, we're going to talk a bit about him. I love Saeem Ayub, what we saw in the last game. Mohamed Harris, I'm a big fan of him. So they've got, what, 19, 20-year-olds at the top of the order. When you look at the opposition side, they've got one or two. Bengal Zai, I think, will bat number 3, hopefully. So when I come to these tournaments, I love seeing young players flourish, and they've got a great opportunity tonight.
You're talking about the younger players flourishing. I mean, that's the key in leagues around the world, Arooj. When you look at all the leagues that are happening, it really is about finding those young prospects. And Saeem Ayub definitely is one bright prospect for Pakistan. Leave aside just his franchise. He's hopefully eventually going to make it there.
I mean, honestly, franchise cricket has to be primarily for the development of your own country and your own players, and to breed in youngsters. And what a bunch of youngsters we have. Harris, we saw what he can do, but Saeem Ayub, it has been an absolute treat to watch him, because it wasn't just smart cricket, it was a lot of innovation, and he almost looked like he was well in control of it. For someone to be just 20 years of age and to announce himself on the big stage the way he did, that is pleasing for prospects in Pakistan. Fantastic to see.
The kind of shots that he has to offer, you know, I mean, when you're looking at a batsman, Nick, you're obviously looking at different things, but he's got that visual elegance about him as well.
Eye-catching. Some of the shots were eye-catching, weren't they? I mean, that one you've just been showing there, that flip to leg side. I haven't seen a tremendous amount of him, but what I've seen I really enjoy. You know, left-hander to left-hander. With the pace coming on here, I feel he's perhaps slightly more developed at that side of his game than perhaps with the pace off and the spin later on. But he's only young, he's got all that to work out. I love... coming from England, you look at a 19, 20-year-old, and we're always slightly wary of talking him up too much in a way, because they're probably not going to play at 19 and 20. But over here, this part of the world, you pick them at 19, you pick them at 20, and you say, go out and do what you do, strut your stuff. So yeah, it won't be a surprise if we see some of these guys coming through quickly.
I think 19 is a bit too much. We picked them at 17.
Well, okay.
We picked them at 17.
But 16.
You know, when he was playing those beautiful cover drives, almost a lot of comparisons were being made with Babar Azam. It is premature to be making those comparisons, but that cover drive of Saeem Ayub's, and you compare him to somebody like Babar Azam, I mean, what kind of value do you think Babar is now adding to the Zalmi squad? Remember, he was part of the Karachi Kings squad, different dynamic altogether. Now he comes into the Zalmi squad and he's leading the side.
Well, great player. I mean, he's a genius, isn't he? And so you kind of, as a young player, you're caught up on everything he does, how he practices, how he goes about his preparation, and what he says. Not only as captain, not only when he stands in front of the team and talks about the team and how we're going to do, but you're catching every word he says to the coach about his batting, what he's working on. And so you're sort of sucking up everything that you can to try and make yourself a little bit better. And so it's a sort of dual effect, really, that someone like he will have in a dressing room. I mean, I look back to I wish I had, and I did, I was lucky. You can have players that you can just tap off all the information and develop your own game. And
Nick, not just that, he's got the two youngsters we mentioned bat around him, Harris and Saeem Ayub, and it's probably the place to be. I think even Harris even tweeted about that. It's what a dream for him to bat with Babar, and then if you got Saeem there as well, it's just a fantastic sort of marry of combinations when you've got the brilliance of the man, the class that he is, and the control that he shows, and hence why he's the best in the world. And then you've got those two youngsters, 19 and 20, bat around him. It can only get
just
better.
In terms of different aspects of his batting, Nick, I mean, what are the key areas that you've picked up, that you've liked, or you think that he could perhaps even improve on?
Well, it seems odd, doesn't it, to talk about improving on, but of course all the great players do exactly that. I mean, however good you are, I think he's got a terrific average. His strike rate, I think, is 127 in PSL history, so that's going back over a good number of years. I think that's probably the area that he's probably thinking, can I work that up to 135, and how do I do that? Look, I've been scouring all Hawkeye's information, stats, and I've been fascinated actually what I've picked up, because I'm just going to show you now. There is one or two areas that I think he might still be looking at. He might have already looked at, but perhaps can help develop his game yet further. I mean, as I say, that off drive is a thing of beauty. His game generally is in pretty good shape. This is last year's PSL, so that's his total runs against the seamers. And there's a couple of things there that stick out like a sore thumb for me. One that's just been highlighted, 8% of runs behind on the leg side there, and the other, that 10% section on the offside. I mean, that is the signature shot. That is where Babar scores. We all laud that shot, but he only gets 10% of his runs. So you start thinking to yourself, perhaps if you're Babar, how can I change those percentages a little bit? Get on one knee maybe, start thinking about the lap sweep, maybe try and get that 8% up to 20%. And in doing so, what happens? The fine leg has to go back because he spends a lot of time being up. And then perhaps you can bring one of your long offs or your deep cover in on the circle. That may make the 10% section a little higher because there's less fielders in that area. Hope you're following me. It's a little bit forensic, but actually I think hopefully if he was to do that, he might then get his strike rate up higher.
Just on what you touched upon, I mean, is it a case of bowlers knowing where to bowl to him, because he's mentioning the fact that he's only 10% in that off-drive, cover drive area, and that seems to be one of his strengths. Is it a case of bowlers sort of adjusting their lines and lengths against somebody like Babar Azam?
What Babar brings to the table, all bowlers across the world know that the margin of error is very slim because of the way he plays and the way he creates angles in the shot that he plays. But I sort of understand where Nick is coming from in terms of because you very rarely will see Babar sweeping or going down on one knee or playing the lap or the reverse or the paddle or even the flick over the head. Like he said, it probably is an area that he has experimented and he doesn't feel comfortable or he feels very much in control and confident in the game that he has. But if he can add that one element to his game, he jumps up notches which are then very difficult to chase for the rest of the pack behind him.
I always call it, I mean, it's a game of combat, isn't it? It's me v you, bowler versus batsman. Can I outthink you?
Yeah.
And that's my point really with this example. Bowlers think, okay, I can keep that area safe because I know he's not probably going to hit it there. If he starts hitting it there, whoa, then all of a sudden the psychology between batting and bowling changes quite dramatically because now I can't bowl it there anymore and maybe I have to just feed it out there and that's where he really wants it.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So the kind of dynamic of the contest changes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good point there by Nick Knight. But we're talking about Peshawar Zalmi, we're talking about Quetta Gladiators. One thing that has changed for Quetta Gladiators is their batting in the last few years. I mean, if you look at over the years how they've been successful, one thing that worked for them was their batting, not so much in the last few years. Let's have a look at the numbers game. I mean, this pretty much demonstrates how it was like before 2020. You look at how Quetta Gladiators are leading this chart in comparison to some of the other HBL PSL sides. They're right at the top. The strike rate is right there. The average is slightly better as well. But this was all before 2020. They had different players at their disposal at that point of time. And then you come to after 2020 and Quetta Gladiators has had a rather huge slump. There you can look at it, average is only 21.58. The strike rate has taken a dip as well. Remember, a lot of matches were being played in Dubai, in the UAE, when Quetta Gladiators were doing well. And since the last few years, obviously the PSL has shifted to Pakistan where the conditions are completely different, Aruj. I mean, what do you think? What would you attribute this change to?
I mean, I sort of went into history and sort of looked at it as we were discussing this earlier as well. And even after the 2020, because of various reasons, the franchise cricket or PSL has been in UAE. So if it was just the venue, it would have been a different story. I think it's a combination of players they had prior to 2020. Shane Watson, I think, was hugely instrumental in getting them off to big starts and getting big scores. I think he ended up with man of the matches in finals, man of the series as well, player of the series as well. Along with them, they even had services of Kevin Peterson and Riley Russo. Now that's a huge top three or within your top four to have. So I would go down to the quality of players they had on top earlier on as well.
Yeah, we've seen that they had all these big names at their disposal, and Shane Watson, I remember him being the man of the match in that final of that Quetta Gladiators win in the HBL PSL. That was the numbers game for you. All right, we're building up here nicely for this one. Quetta take on Peshawar. We'll be taking a short break. But before we go to the break, we're leaving you with some visuals from Balochistan, which is basically these visuals are part of the National Amateur Short Film Festival, which is an initiative to showcase Pakistan's cultural landscape and the various tourist attractions. One of the stars at display in the HPL PSL is certainly Saim Ayub. A lot of people are excited about him, and rightly so. We've seen some great innings so far from him in that previous game. Also, the kind of runs that he scored in the domestic. But what makes him so special? Let's find out from Arooj Mumtaz.
Now, we keep talking about batting and how it is an art and it is something of beauty when players get it right. And it is, for me, the fundamentals. Whether you're playing, no matter what level of cricket and what format, basics of the fundamentals remain the key. And for me, one of those is the balance and the position of the head, because it is the heaviest part of your body. So if you fall over with your head, your body almost follows, and every time it goes with the head. But if you plant your feet somewhere like that, your head doesn't really have to fall. And that's where the position and the balance of the head becomes key. Now, for all young boys and girls, how is it so simple? Let's have a look at a beautiful cover drive from Babar Azam. He gets his feet in a relatively good position, but watch his balance and his head coming through the line of the ball, and then his hands also follow. So it is just generally, which you get your feet in a relatively comfortable position, and then just hands and head, if they can drive through, you've got that sorted. But then when we talk about T20, you get all funky and you get innovative and you sort of jump around the crease. Saim Ayub, how good was he? The no-look shot. We've got footage here from various angles. Just have a look. He goes back and across. Look at where his head is. It is balanced. His eyes are still on the ball. He doesn't even bother looking. That's how sure he was, because the number of times he must have practiced it must have been amazing. Here's another angle. Look, he goes back and across, and all he does is chips it right into the fence for a huge, massive six. Now, if you're standing there and wondering how to do this, again, I mean, I'm hopefully not going to make a fool out of myself, but back and across, but his head remained key. Even with his balance, he was one leg in the air, but he still went with the head. So for me, use your head and use it wisely.
Use your head and use it wisely, Arooj. The wise words, pearls of wisdom from Arooj Mumtaz. Are we sure if she practices what she preaches as well, Nick?
It depends what we're talking about here. Is this cricket or anything else?
That was advice for a lot of people.
But yeah, because we're talking about the head position and in particular with Saim Ayub, I mean, you spoke about his head position and how important it is. Just playing that shot, it is not easy to be executing that. We've seen maybe the likes of AB de Villiers play it to perfection, but just in terms of execution, never easy.
Never easy, and it doesn't come without practice. Firstly, you need to be very brave about this, and then secondly, you need to be, again, be brave enough to try it and not go back into default. And then here it is on default, and Zainab, you touched on it earlier. He has a lot of domestic experience, obviously not as too vast, but he does play a lot of domestic cricket. So he's tried this in the nets, he's tried this in his game, and he had to be confident to try it. And what I like about him is that he is still confident to try it even if he doesn't get it right. And you mentioned AB de Villiers. I'm sure there was a repertoire of practice that went on in, but it's about position. You get into good early positions, and he's so balanced at the point of impact that he can almost not bother looking.
What do you like about him, Nick?
Well, I mean, all the stuff that Arooj has mentioned there is absolutely spot on in terms of his balance. I like the way that his body weight is slightly forward, all this sort of stuff, which is really relevant to whether it's the longer form of the game or the shorter form of the game. I always used to call it three basic bits of grammar. One, what Arooj is talking about there, head position, that's probably the most important. Two, keep those, you saw it with Baba, keep those hands in nice and tight into the body here rather than be out there, and that body weight slightly forward. I mean, that body weight, I don't know if Alvin can show that again, but you can see with that flip to leg there that Saim was playing. Even that, it's an easy thing to do, is to sort of get a bit, I'm trying to get it up and over, so I'll let the body weight go back and then try and help it. If you actually watch it, he does pretty well to keep his body weight as forward as he possibly can with that head over the ball there. Now, that's pretty classy. I mean, that's pretty difficult to do. The other point I'd make about batting in one-day cricket, for me, it was pretty predetermined, and that's a predetermined shot. And if you were playing at your best, you would be predetermined because you'd know where you wanted to hit it, but not overly committed to that. So you'd have it, I'm going to hit the ball mid-wicket, and then if it's not there and it's out there, you wouldn't try and sort of reach and flip it round. You'd say, OK, plan B, I'll just knock it through there. So I was very predetermined. That's probably a good example of being so.
Predetermined, that's the word there, and I'm sure he's practiced that a lot in the nets, though, to be able to get into that position, to play it and not even look at it. Well, good on Saim Ayub. We'll take a short breather, and when we're back, we'll be ready for the toss. Just a few moments away from the toss, Quetta Gladiators take on Peshawar Zalmi in this clash of the HBL PSL. Well, one thing that we saw that worked for Quetta Gladiators in that previous game was Martin Guptill. It was the Marty party, as Aruj Mumtaz says. The Martin Guptill did come to the party, and that's what we need from him as well. Just in terms of his form and everything that's we've seen in the last few years with Martin Guptill, that 100 was absolutely magnificent. The strike rate tells you a story, Nick.
Yeah, it was magnificent for two reasons. One, the point you make about the strike rate in the end, but two, the way he built his innings. What were they, 23 for 4 at one point?
Yep.
And that's all about experience. That's all about dealing with the pressure, and it's all about talking to your partner at the other end saying, don't panic, we're going to be okay here and we can make up for it at the end. I mean, I think Andrew Ty went for 30 off his last over, so that's a classic example of someone, I don't know how old he is, Martin, now, but he's been around for a long time. That was all about dealing with the situation and the pressure.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Like, he himself said it was a contrasting innings. First 40 at a runner ball, and the next he teed off. And I think the experience all the way through sort of shown for Quetta.
We're talking about the toss. One thing that we've seen so far, which has been a trend in the HBL PSL, is that teams have been winning the toss and they've been opting to bowl first, whereas the teams that are batting first have been winning all the games. So I'm really interested in seeing what happens at the toss. We are ready now, so over to Danny Morrison.
Okie dokie, it is a bit of Monday Night Madness, and guess what? The BFI coin toss is ready and awaiting. Gentlemen, alongside to my right, Mr. Ali Naqvi, who is our match referee. Good to see you, sir. Welcome in. And the two legends, right? Ready to rock and roll and lock horns. Babar Azam, Saf Razamas, and Saf, you've got the coin. Thank you, sir.
Tail.
Oh, it's gone miles. Good luck. Ali, get the taxi. Look at it, it's still going. Yeah, it's one of the best.
So that's tail.
Baba, Baba, you're just making sure. Taxi, you got that good. Right, so you have won it, Baba.
Yes.
Now let's break the trend. Everyone bowls first. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I'll also bowl first.
The dew factor?
Yeah, definitely. The second time they due factor, so that's why we are bowling first. So we are capitalized that.
Now then, in terms of that dew factor, this is a new pitch, slightly different. In terms of playing here versus Multan, does that make a difference to the balance of your side?
Yes, we have a couple of changes. Raja Paksha is not playing, Chanaka is in, and Khurram is not playing, Usman Qadir in, and Salman is not playing, Arshad is playing.
Oh, I'm looking forward to Sean's playing.
Yes, man.
Good luck. Good
Yes,
to see
man.
you.
Good luck, man.
Safi, no surprises. You probably would have bowled first, but look, this pitch looks a goodie. What do you make of it here?
You know, looks like a good batting pitch, but early on a little bit of slow side. But never mind, we have to bat first. I think if we runs on the board, definitely we have to defend the target.
Now, there's so much cricket being played, lots of toing and froing in the franchises. You've got some more personnel, I believe, to pick from?
Yeah, actually, we have already all foreign players are coming and waiting for Hasranga. Actually, he didn't come, but all other foreigners are here. So we make one change. Today, Umar Akmal is not playing, and in place of Hafiz is playing.
Oh, good luck.
Thank you.
Have a biggie. Cheers,
Thank
Safi.
you.
Rightio, the news from the centre is, yeah, the toss of the coin went the way of our dear friend Babar Azam, going to go up front and bowl. And I'm bowling on down here to see old Baz. Baz, this is a new pitch. Just over from this one, do you think, by the look of it, going to play a little bit more slicker, maybe?
It's had a haircut, hasn't it? There's no grass at all. Bit like that.
Yes.
It isn't shining, but look at that. And it doesn't have live grass at all. So, Danny, just walk a bit. This is the length you don't want to bowl at. You want to bowl about here. Short of a length into the pitch. We've seen the fast bowlers pitch there. It's difficult, even with the spinners. You don't want to be too full. You want to be short, because here the ball's either skipping on or sort of holding up in the surface. So this is the area you want to bowl in. Even when you're bowling second, even when there's dew, it's the short of length or even shorter which is making difference.
And I just wonder about the dew factor. It wasn't so bad yesterday, was it?
Well, Imran Tahir said that he's never played in so much dew in Pakistan. There was plenty of dew still. But even with that, the slowness of the surface allows you to bowl short of a length and into the stumps. They work a lot hard in keeping the ball dry, but the key is just being able to bang away short of a length with your variations and into the pitch, even the spinners.
Spinners, quick man, you better believe it. Bang it in, as Baz says.
When we're talking about spinners, Usman Qadir is playing today. He's available for his side. And we're also seeing Shanaka. We'll be seeing Dasun Shanaka. He's also available. He's playing today. And Mohammad Hafiz will be seen in action. These are all the changes that we're seeing in today's game. Thank you so much, Nick, for your thoughts. We'll let you go now. I know you're really sad that you're leaving us.
I was ready for some more. Oh, okay, I'll go.
Yeah, you got to do some work and go back into the commentary box. We'll take a short breather. And when we are back, we'll be joined by Bazid Khan. News from the centre is that Peshawar Zalmi has won the toss and they have elected to bowl first. Despite the discussion that we were having with Bazid Khan yesterday, he joins us once again in the studio. Baz, कल आपने कहा था कि जो टीम बैटिंग फर्स्ट करी है वही जीत रही है और अब नंबर्स भी जो है वो डिक्टेट कर रहे हैं. 6 टीमें जिन्होंने बैट फर्स्ट किया अभी तक HBL PSL में वो जीती हैं और 2 जिन्होंने बॉल फर्स्ट किया है वो जीती हैं. फिर भी पेशावर ज़ल्मी हैज़ ऑप्टेड टू बॉल फर्स्ट. सो वो कुछ क्या चीज देख रहे हैं जो हमें नजर नहीं आ रही?
देखिए, फर्स्टली डिफॉल्ट या इजियर ऑप्शन यही है इन T20 क्रिकेट टू चेस. द अदर थिंग मे बी वो देख रहे हैं कि शायद आज का पिच थोड़ा सा बेहतर है, शायद बॉल बल्ले पे ज़्यादा है, लेकिन हमने जो पिछले 2-3 पिचेस देखी हैं उसमें पिच हैज़ स्लोड डाउन. इवन दो देयर हैज़ बीन ड्यू, इवन दो इमरान ताहिर कल कह रहे थे कि इतनी ज़्यादा ड्यू थी, बट द पिचेस हैव slowed down. So if you hold your length, if you're bowling short of a length, even if the spinners are bowling within the stumps, it's difficult to get them away. So there is that option. Obviously, batting first and winning a T20 game is more difficult than chasing, and maybe that is what Babar Azam thinks, that the easier option is to chase. I don't think that it makes such a big difference. The good thing is that the batting first team is winning. It's not totally screwed toward batting second team.
Yeah, absolutely. चले Quetta Gladiators की टीम को पहले देखते हैं. Let's have a look at their side to see कि क्या changes हुए हैं. अरूज, मोहम्मद हफीज जो कि काफ़ी हद तक नहीं थे HBL PSL में, फिर एकदम से आ गए PSL में, आज खेल रहे हैं.
And I think that's a good change because Hafiz was also very instrumental in last year Lahore Qalandars lifting the trophy. वो middle order उन्होंने वहाँ पर संभाला था Lahore Qalandars के लिए. तो जो ये इन्होंने ये move किया और इनके लिए ये जगह भी अच्छी, क्योंकि ये इस किस्म के player हैं जो innings को hold भी कर सकते हैं and players can bat around him. But look at that top order. You got Roy, Guptill, and in the middle you've got Iftikhar and Odin Smith and Nawaz, as we've been talking about, कि वो पाकिस्तान टीम भी उनको as a floater use करती है because of his power hitting option. And then you got the 2 seamers, Hasnain and Naseem, Qais Ahmed, who I thought was brilliant with the ball in the last game. All of it. I think that looks a very good all-rounded side.
It does look like a very good all-round side, but Peshawar Zalmi was perhaps lacking in that bowling department. पिछले मैच में they conceded over 200 runs. इसीलिए उन्होंने आज 3 changes किए हैं बाज़.
Usman Qadir आए हैं, again leg spin. He's a wicket taker. He can be expensive, but he's the one who can provide you wickets once. अगर उसका बॉल पड़े तो बहुत अच्छी बॉलिंग करती है. I think Shanaka is a very underrated, very good T20 player. He's maybe the X factor. Batting तो बहुत ही अच्छी करते हैं, but even when you give him the ball, he can get you wickets. He's very clever जब वो bowling करते हैं. बाकी 2 wrist spinners हैं, तो maybe that is the way to go. Maybe as this tournament develops, हम देखेंगे कि wrist spinners ज़्यादा आएंगे in play.
Wrist spinners so हमेशा ही at least in leagues in PSL हमने देखा है historically बहुत अच्छा किया है. इमरान ताहिर हो गए और भी बहुत ज़्यादा आपके पास नाम हैं जिन्होंने अच्छा किया है the HBL PSL. But we're talking about the rising stars of Pakistan cricket, the rising stars in the HBL PSL. Saim Ayub के बारे में भी काफ़ी discussion हुई थी. He's definitely someone to watch out for. He caught up earlier with Bazid Khan.
Another one of those stars that HBL PSL is producing, an emerging star. Saim Ayub with me. Saim, मुल्तान सुल्तान्स के खिलाफ जो इनिंग्स आपने खेली, उसके बाद लाइफ में कोई चेंज आई? सोशल मीडिया, इंटरव्यूज, फैंस,
जी बिल्कुल, आई थिंक बहुत सारे फैंस बने और सोशल मीडिया पे भी बहुत सारे मैसेजेस और बहुत सारे पोस्ट में टैग किया जा रहा है और दोस्तों के, फैमिली के बहुत मैसेजेस आ रहे हैं और इनफैक्ट मेरे जो फैमिली के भी रिलेटिव्स हैं वो उनको मैसेजेस कर रहे हैं, तो अच्छा लग रहा है। बट मेरी यही कोशिश है कि इसको मैं कैरी ऑन रखूँ।
बिल्कुल, जो 9 लोग 6 आप मारते हैं बगैर देखे, ये पहले भी आप मारते रहे हैं डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट में, इसमें कोई खास प्रैक्टिस की है या नेचुरल एक शॉट बनाई है?
नहीं, एक्चुअली जब मैं प्रैक्टिस करता था तो मैं ये नहीं सोचता था कि 9 लोग शॉट बन जाएगा, बट टेक्निकली अगर बात करें तो आपको जब हिट मारते हुए आपका हेड स्टिल होना ज़रूरी है, तो उसकी मैं प्रैक्टिस करता था कि जहाँ पे इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है बॉल से तो उस वक्त मैं स्टिल रहा हूँ, और उस चक्कर में जो है ये 9 लोग बन गया खुद ब खुद।
नहीं, बहुत ज़बरदस्त शॉट है। अगर आपकी क्रिकेट की जर्नी की बात करें, अंडर 16 आप खेले, अंडर 19 खेले, अंडर 16 पे आपको लेके जाऊं तो आपका एक फाइनल था, उसमें नसीम शाह के खिलाफ आप खेले।
जी बिल्कुल, उस टाइम तो मतलब ऐसा लगता था कि पता नहीं कितना तेज़ बॉलर आ गया, और ऐसा कभी खेला नहीं था, और फाइनल में बहुत उसको खेला था, तो पहली बार ऐसा फास्ट बॉलर खेला था, तो इतना अच्छा उसके खिलाफ नहीं रहा था, लेकिन फिर भी मैंने 50 स्कोर की थी उसमें। तो
अंडर 16 के आप कैप्टन रहे, ऑस्ट्रेलिया गए, वहाँ पे भी आपने रन्स किए। उसके बाद अंडर 19 कराची से मेरे ख्याल आप वनडे में भी बेस्ट बैट्समैन हुए और फोरडे में भी बेस्ट बैट्समैन हुए।
जी बिल्कुल, ऐसे ही था।
तो वो परफॉर्मेंस, वो जर्नी आपको हेल्प करती रही डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट तक?
जी बिल्कुल, ऑब्वियसली जब आपकी बेस अच्छी होती है, जूनियर लेवल से आप आते हैं तो कॉन्फिडेंस मिलता है ऊपर क्रिकेट खेलने में, तो यही था। अंडर 19 में हाईलाइट हुआ था, तो डोमेस्टिक में चांस मिला और फिर प्रूव किया।
अभी हारिस के साथ आपकी पार्टनरशिप अच्छी रही, उसमें कम्युनिकेशन अच्छी है आपके साथ, उसकी मिलती है बैटिंग, और जब आप खेल रहे होते हैं तो क्या बात करते हैं?
बिल्कुल, हम लोग क्योंकि अंडर 19 मेट्स रहे हैं तो हमारी जो केमिस्ट्री और हमारी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो थोड़ी अच्छी है, और यही है कि बात करते रहते हैं, प्लान करते रहते हैं, एग्जीक्यूट, क्योंकि हम दोनों की प्लानिंग तकरीबन सेम, हम लोग तब तेज़ खेलते हैं, हमारा नेचुरल गेम है, तो दूसरे टीम के बॉलर्स को जो है वो डोमिनेट करना, तो बस ये हमारा प्लान होता है, एक दूसरे से यही बातें करते रहते हैं।
फास्ट बॉलर्स को बहुत अच्छा खेले हैं हमने जितना देखा है, आपको कोई ख़ास उसकी प्रैक्टिस करते हैं या टेक्निकली कोई उस पर काम करते हैं ज़्यादा?
जी ऑब्वियसली फास्ट बॉलर्स और स्पिनर्स हो, हर चीज़ मैं कोशिश करता हूँ कि अपना हर एरिया बैटिंग में कवर करूँ, और कभी ऐसा होता है कोई चीज़ ज़्यादा अच्छी होती है, कोई कम अच्छी होती है, लेकिन ये है कि मेरी कोशिश होती है हर चीज़ को मैं अपनी अच्छी लेकर चलूँ।
बहुत अच्छी लेकर चल रहे हैं, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर।
थैंक यू।
Yeah, he's really young. He's only 20 years old and he's got a bright future ahead of him. Bazid, काफ़ी अभी डिस्कशन भी हुई है साइम अयूब के बारे से, उन्होंने सीम वेरी प्राउड कि उसने नसीम शाह को 50 मारी थी अंडर 16 में। आप उससे पूछ रहे थे, बट इफ़ ही वाज प्लेइंग समबडी लाइक नसीम ऑन दैट लेवल, दैट शोज यू कि एक पूरे सिस्टम के थ्रू और एक्सपीरियंस के थ्रू आए हैं।
लेकिन नसीम भी अंडर 16 ही खेल रहे थे, तो वो दोनों का लेवल एक ही था। Yes, he's come through the age group system, under 16, under 19, and he's been earmarked. Iska jo initial coach, again, one of the coaches that always gets a mention with Karachi players is Masroor, and he's worked a lot with him. तो हम PSL में ज़ाहिर है जब वो आता है तो एकदम eyeballs मिलती हैं, एकदम ऐसे लगता है कि नया टैलेंट आ गया, but behind the scenes it is the whole process, and he's come through that whole process. That's why he looks so good. पिछले साल भी खेले थे, ज़्यादा नोटिस नहीं हुए, लेकिन वो प्रोसेस से ही आए हैं, और मुझे लगता है कि फास्ट बॉलिंग बहुत अच्छा खेलते हैं। अगर थोड़ा सा डेवलप करना है तो स्पिनर्स पे इनको अभी थोड़ा सा काम करना है।
चले रूट प्रेडिक्शंस टाइम। इट्स क्वेटा ग्लैडिएटर्स, पेशावर ज़ल्मी ने कुछ चेंजेस किए हैं। Who are you? आपकी अच्छी प्रेडिक्शन रही थी कल की, so, जल्दी से बताएं, जल्दी से।
Quetta Gladiators.
Quetta Gladiators. You heard it from Aruj. I think you said Quetta last time as well.
Yes, and they won last time as well.
अभी it's 3-3. Let's see होता है कि नहीं अरूज के लिए, because yesterday she was apt with her Karachi Kings prediction. But yeah, Peshawar Zalmi has won the toss and you'll be seeing them bowling first. Couple of changes for them as well. Mohammad Hafiz for Quetta Gladiators and 3 changes for Peshawar Zalmi. Sets up to be a lovely contest altogether. We'll be seeing you after short break.